Hi, my name is James Nielsen. This is for FTT100 and today's date is May 12th, 2024. In today's video, I'll be using my Radical Firearms RF15. All right, let's go ahead and verify that this firearm is clear and safe. We'll begin by removing our magazine. No live ammunition present. And we'll go ahead and lock our bolt to the rear. And then we can go ahead and visually and physically ensure that this firearm is clear and safe. We have nothing in our magazine well, nothing in our chamber, and nothing on our bolt face. This firearm is clear and safe. All right, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Radical Firearms RF15. It is chambered in 5.56-223 and is a hammer-fired semi-automatic direct impingement gas-operated system with a single action trigger. And it utilizes a push feed mechanism for stripping rounds and pushing them into the chamber, which means the extractor won't grab the cartridge until it's fully seated into the chamber. The RF15 has a 16-inch barrel that has a 1-in-7 twist rate and a mid-length gas system. All right, let's go over the cycle of operations. To do that, I'll be using these Carlson 223 snap caps, and we'll go ahead and place them into our magazine. Go ahead and place our magazine into our magazine well. And now we can go ahead and begin our cycle of operations. As I pull the charging handle to the rear, that first cartridge is going to come up a tiny bit in that magazine, putting it in line for the bolt face to strip it from that magazine, which is the start of our feeding, chambering, locking, and as we locked, the extractor has actually grabbed the rim of that cartridge, and now we are ready to fire. So we can go ahead and take our safety selector switch and switch it over to fire. Fire. After we have fired, the bullet will travel down the barrel, and after it passes our gas block, the gases will shoot up into our gas block, down the gas tube, into the receiver where it'll meet up with the gas key on our bolt carrier group, which will force the bolt to unlock, come to the rear, which then starts our ejecting process, because as we mentioned, the extractor has already grabbed that case. And then we go ahead and begin our feeding, chambering, locking. Then we go ahead and fire again. And then again, we are extracting, unlocking, and ejecting. Bolt stays to the rear. Magazine's empty. And that is the cycle of operations for the Radical Firearms RF15. All right, let's go ahead and field strip and clean this rifle. To start, we'll go ahead and push out our takedown pins. That way we can separate our lower from our upper. And we'll go ahead and remove our buffer tube and spring by pressing down on the little retaining clip. We can pull that out of there. Now our lower is field stripped. For the upper, we'll go ahead and pull back on our charge handle about halfway, and then we can go ahead and pull out our bolt carrier group. And then our charge handle will also come out of there. Now our upper is field stripped. Now before I continue any further, because I know that this bolt carrier group is kind of dirty, I'm going to go ahead and put on some rubber gloves. All right, now to disassemble our bolt carrier group, we'll go ahead and pull out our firing pin retaining pin. Grab it, pull it out of there, and put it on my magnetic tray over here so we don't lose it. Pull out our firing pin, and as you can see, it is pretty dirty. Now we'll go ahead and rotate our cam pin 90 degrees, which will allow us to pull it out, which then allows you to pull out your bolt. I don't know if you'll be able to see that in the camera, but that is pretty dirty. And then we can go ahead and take it a step further and remove our extractor. To do so, we just push out this little pin here in our bolt. Be careful not to lose that. Put it in our magnetic tray over here. And then our extractor will come off. There's also a little tiny spring and an O-ring here. You definitely do not want to lose that. Go ahead and place that to the side. And that is how you field strip your AR-15. All right, let's go ahead and begin to clean this firearm. Today I'm going to be using some Modern Spartan Systems Carbon Destroyer. And we're going to go ahead and soak all of our parts that came out of our bolt carrier. Just kind of soaked up in here, get them all saturated. And then we'll go ahead and clean our bolt carrier off. See how dirty that is. And I like to use a little bit of Q-tips to actually get down into our bolt housing. As you can see, pretty dirty inside there. All right. Just gonna go ahead and wipe off all this excess carbon destroyer. All right, now our bolt carrier, bolt housing is clean. Go ahead and set that aside. Give these another rotation in here, keep them saturated. All right, next, go ahead and give the buffer tube spring a wipe down. Put a little bit of carbon destroyer on it. And we'll just go ahead and give everything a nice little wipe down on here. This thing's not that dirty. And that should be sufficient. And then next, we'll go ahead and wipe down our charge handle. Just gonna place a little bit of carbon destroyer on here. And go ahead and scrub it. And we go ahead and wipe that down. Take some more of our Q-tips here, just to get in that spot that we can't get at with our rag. And that is a nice clean charge handle. And as you can tell from my cloth here, it was pretty dirty. Next, we'll go ahead and just tackle our lower receiver, which houses our trigger assembly. And for this, we'll just go ahead and release our hammer so we can get that up out of the way. And we'll go ahead and just put a tiny little bit of carbon destroyer down in here, right on that hammer, and go ahead and scrub it. Now, if I had an air compressor, I'd blow that all out of there, but it'll be nice and clean now, and we'll go ahead and set that aside. I'll go ahead and work on our bolt, our firing pin, our ejector, and our cam pin. Get those all cleaned up. To do that, we've been soaking them, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a clean rag here and wipe down our firing pin. Coming pretty clean, but it looks like we probably need to do a little bit of scrubbing on it. So All right, now our firing pin, nice and clean. All right, clean. All right. And lastly, we will clean our bolt. All right, then we'll go ahead and wipe it all off. Now we still have a bit of carbon built up right around here, so we'll go ahead and give it a little more scrubbing. See if we can get some more of that off of there. Well, there's still some carbon on there, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and let it maybe soak a little bit longer. See if we can get a little bit more of that off. All right, while we give the bolt time to soak, we'll go ahead and start working on our barrel. I'm actually gonna go ahead and remove our handguard before we start cleaning, just because it'll make things a little bit easier, and I'd like to wipe down the barrel. All right, now we got our rail off. Take a better look at our barrel, and I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but there's quite a bit of carbon around here, and I mean, it's just generally dirty. So we're gonna go ahead and wanna clean that all up as well. And we're gonna go ahead and give this barrel a wipe. Now, I'm also going to go ahead and remove my optic. Now we'll go ahead and place our barrel into our vise. All right, so now we're going to continue to let this soak, and we'll go ahead and clean the inside of our barrel. To do that, we'll go ahead and get our pull cable here. I already have a patch on here. We're going to go ahead and put some carbon destroyer on it. And we'll go ahead and run that through. And that came out pretty dirty. We're gonna go ahead and just let that sit just for a few minutes. And then what I like to do is run a bore snake through it. So while that's soaking for a few minutes, we'll go ahead and come back to our bolt here and see if we can get this excess carbon off. All right, it's looking a lot better. We'll go ahead and wipe it down. And we'll go ahead and set it aside. Now, one thing I would like to mention is, in the process of cleaning, my gas rings have kind of aligned themselves, and we do not want that. So we're going to go ahead and just take a little pick, and we're just going to make sure that they're 120 degrees apart from each other. All right, I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. All right, now that our barrel has been soaking for a few minutes, we'll go ahead and run our bore snake through it. So to do that, we'll go ahead and feed her from the breech end first. All right. Now that we've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and run a dry patch through and see how it looks. Set her through. And came out a little bit dirty. Let's run this through dry again. It's coming out fairly clean. And next, we're going to want to clean the chamber here and get around all those locking lugs. For that, I like to use this brush here, which is made for an AR. We'll just come in here. There's already a bunch of carbon destroyer in the chamber from when we passed our first patch through. So we'll go ahead and use this and scrub that down. All right, and then we'll take some Q-tips so we can get down in there, verify it's clean, get all that excess carbon destroyer out of there. Now we'll go ahead and just clean out the inside of our upper receiver here. And to do that, I'm just gonna scrub it out. Need a little light here.
We'll go ahead and wipe that all out.
I'm gonna go ahead and take some more Q-tips so we get down into the charging handle valley, I guess. Q-tips work great to get underneath that the gas tube as well. Get into those areas that you can't get with your fingers or a brush. All right, so once that's all clean, we can go ahead and begin oiling and reassembly. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is run a patch through our barrel with the Spartan Accuracy oil. And then I'm going to go ahead and run a dry patch right after that. And I'm going to wipe down the outside of our barrel with a patch of Accuracy oil, just to give it a nice layer of protection. All right, we'll go ahead and just wipe off all the excess with a shop towel. All right, now our M-lock rail can go back on. We'll go ahead and tighten this down. There we go. Upper receiver all nice and clean and lubed. Now we can go ahead and reassemble our bolt carrier group. Well, to do that, take our bolt. The first thing we'll do is put our extractor back on. We'll go ahead and put a little bit of oil on here. Just a tiny bit. We're just gonna kind of rub it around with our finger here, just to kind of lightly coat the bolt. And our gas rings have found themselves back together, so we're gonna go ahead and move those away again. Now that our extractor is back on, we've put a nice light coat of oil on here. We can go ahead and put our bolt back into the bolt housing with our extractor to the right. Okay, nice little light coat on our cam pin. We'll go ahead and drop that in. Then we go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees. Pull our bolt out. And then we can drop in our firing pin. Once our firing pin is in, we can go ahead and put our firing pin retaining pin in. And one way to test to see if your bolt is assembled right, if you put your bolt, push your bolt face in, you should be able to swing it out like that without nothing falling apart either. Good to go. So now we'll go ahead and lube up our bolt carrier. I believe it's a good idea with ARs to run them a little bit up more on the wet side. So we'll go ahead and wipe down our whole bolt. It's nice, it's got a really nice thin coat all over it. And then we can go ahead and take our charging handle and we'll just do the same thing. We'll give this thing a nice wet coat of accuracy oil. Now that we have done that, we can go ahead and place our charging handle back into our upper, and we go ahead and slide our bolt carrier group in. Lastly, we'll just take our accuracy oil. I'm going to place a little bit on my finger here, and I'm just going to run it down my buffer tube spring. Alright, now that we have that done, we go ahead and put our buffer tube spring back into our lower receiver. Just placing it down in there, press it in. Alright, so now once we've done that, we can go ahead and put our upper receiver back onto our lower receiver. Now we'll give the firearm one last final wipe down with a clean shop towel. Alright, and lastly, we'll go ahead and perform a functions check. To do that, we'll use our snap caps again, place them into our magazine. Take the weapon off safe, and then we can go ahead and fire. You can hear that reset. Then we can fire again. Bolt locks to the rear. And our firearm is functioning properly. Alright, now lastly, I just want to say that I was able to find a schematic on firearmsguide.com and the owner's manual, which the schematic they have on firearmsguide.com is the same one that they have in the back of the Radical Firearms owner's manual. And I'll go ahead and blow them up on the screen so you can actually see them. But this is the owner's manual. I did purchase this gun new, so it did come with it. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.